all for being here. I'm going to talk about two main things through my talk today. There's two big takeaways I want you to get. First, I want to give a little bit of perspective on some of the things that we're learning from many of our customers about approaching AI, especially in this new Gen AI era. And second, I'm going to tell you about some of the things that Domino does and some of the things that we've got on our roadmap. So two things to take away. First, I want to reiterate what Hamal said and say thank you to all our speakers. This is why we get to be so knowledgeable about the AI space, because we get to work with incredible people and hear their perspectives and what they think, what they're doing in their businesses to build companies that have AI at the core of their business. I want to also give a couple of examples of that, of things that we're doing at Domino and customers that we're working with. As many of you know, we work across a couple of different sectors. First, I wanted to talk about Bridgewater, who is building AI-based investment algorithms with Domino and has achieved 4 times faster model training with our platform, which is absolutely imperative when you're in financial services to be able to realize new insights and get those into the market faster. Second, GSK has been using Domino to accelerate their clinical trials, and I can think of nothing better than to improve the human condition by getting new drugs and therapies to markets faster, and so I'm incredibly proud of the work that we're doing with them. Lastly, we've been working with the US Navy to deploy mine detection algorithms into unmanned underwater submersibles. I had the great pleasure of being at the Pentagon 2 days ago to meet the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and we talked a little bit about how the Domino algorithms are out this week in the Baltic Sea as part of Baltops 2024, doing mine detection to help protect lives as we move forward in this daunting new world of global conflict. So I'm very excited about a lot of the different use cases that we see, and hopefully this gives you a view as to where some of our credibility comes from on talking to you about what to do with AI. So I want to tee up a dichotomy, a paradigm that we see at a lot of our different customers. We believe there's a crossroads or a choice that folks have. And that choice is between two different ways of achieving value with AI. On the left, we think about the incremental approach. We call these the AI dabblers, enjoying taking some off-the-shelf products and applying some AI in their enterprise, getting started and building, of course, some incremental value, because you wouldn't do it without that. But on the other side, we think about the AI drivers. Those are the organizations that have decided that AI is going to be core to their business, and they are going to drive step changes within their organization as a result of AI. And in setting up this paradigm, I want to highlight two things. First of all, this is a mindset difference, and that's primarily where it comes from. The mindset is, am I going to marginally improve things that are going on? Am I going to show up to my job and think about bringing in a new tool or new technique and sort of incrementally move forward? Or am I thinking about one of the world's biggest problems? Am I thinking about how to get new drugs to market faster, how to develop new drugs? Am I thinking about how to turn around mine detection time from 18 months to a few weeks? Am I thinking about those sort of step changes that I can have in the organization? And so the first thing I would say, if you want to be an AI driver, that's the mindset you have to take. First of all, the business problem and the change that you want to have in your organization, and frankly, the change you want to have in the world. And so, we're talking about AI, right? And AI has taken all the air out of the room recently with the advent of many of the Gen AI tools, and I think that's been probably for many of you has been both an exciting and daunting time, because finally there's some push and some focus from executive leadership on what is the power of this AI thing. but at the same time, maybe a lot of distraction with chatbots and that sort of thing away from maybe your core mission. But this is not the first time we've been here. Before AI, we had machine learning, and before machine learning, we had data science, and before data science, we had quant research, and before that, we had operations research. And this is all the same thing in some ways. This is all about being a model-centric, algorithmic-centric organization. And we take a longer-term view than the flash in the pan. What is the next piece of AI? What is the next algorithm that somebody might have? We think about, really, in order to accomplish change, in order to accomplish that step change in an organization, you've already had your mind set on bringing those algorithmic techniques in the organization for a really long time. So maybe just to put a little bit more color on this differentiation between dabblers and drivers. One of the things that we often see with dabblers is this excitement for the magic wand, the flash in the pan. Hey, I found a new tool, I found a new vendor, I found something new that's going to solve all our problems. And that's sort of the second part of the mindset change, or the mindset that differentiates these two. The people who are in the step change category realize that there's no magic wand. You've already been disillusioned. It is the hard work, it is the organizational change, it is the putting a model out there that doesn't work and having a problem with that and having to bring it back and build something different. It is challenging. To get real value, there's no magic wand. Everybody agree? Okay, well, maybe. Okay, thank you. And so, really the AI drivers know that there's hard work behind this and there's no magic wand. So going back to model-based organizations and putting models at the core of your business, over our 10 years in working with customers, we've come up with a core thesis that stands the test of time across all these different techniques and is still there with the advent of generative AI. We believe models are different, and we believe this is one of the core things that is sort of the next step in that mindset change that helps individuals and organizations treat data science and AI as a different capability. First, the materials are different than traditional IT or software engineering type work. You've got GPUs, you have data sets that are ever changing and bringing in new data from the world. You have algorithms that are stochastic and by their nature statistical. This is a very different place than trying to engineer something that is tested, put out in the world, and stays for years or decades, right? It's very different at its fundamental. The second is the processes are really different. In software engineering, you may do Agile, you may do waterfall, whatever you do, but you build a spec, you develop and engineer, you test, you publish, you put it out there into the world. And that's kind of a bit of a static process and approach. The process with data science and AI is radically different. It is much more iterative. It has a different level of risk and risk assessment embedded by virtue of these models being not always right, not always correct when they're making decisions, and aren't always right in the same way that a well-developed piece of software operates effectively. This is just a different thing. It also often requires different types of collaboration across the organization, from the business and engineers together. It's a different type of process. The third piece is the behavior is different, and I alluded to this a little bit, but when models go out into the world, they make errant predictions. They're not always right. There's a confidence interval, and even more than that, the world changes, right? I remember one of our retail customers telling us that when we went into the pandemic, their algorithms on the website for suggesting next product you should purchase, let's just say nobody wanted to buy jeans anymore and wanted to buy pajamas. So they had to go completely change their models to respond to the world. And you all know this so very well. So this is the way that we see the world, and to give a bit of a video game analogy here, Gen AI only makes this even more complicated. The compute needs are out of control, GPUs shortage everywhere, difficulty getting larger and larger amounts of compute. There's a very rapidly evolving ecosystem, a new tool, a new model, new weights that are out every single week. The tools are more complex, but I think really the fundamental thing that makes this much more different is there is a lot more risk embedded in these Gen AI systems by virtue of the hallucinations, by virtue of where these models are going. They're not a model that is helping a expert researcher necessarily who's using that as an input and using their good judgment. They're actually on the front lines of interacting with our customers or users, and of course everybody loves to read the horror stories from airlines to lawyers to whoever. It's just a different sort of thing, and so this has really escalated the need to think about model development differently. So I wanted to take a moment to talk about some examples of things that we think are critical in a different mindset to be successful in this different regime of models. And I'm going to highlight along the way some of the things that we're doing at Domino that help enable that. So first of all, I want to talk about tools. So one of the things I said a second ago is that there's constantly a new set of tools out there. And the second piece is costs. Costs are obviously in the minds of every organization, and now even more so with the advent of Gen AI. Collaboration has become much more key. This is a critical part of organizations being able to work at the scale of models that go beyond one team or one group and really become an enterprise capability and knowledge. And then, of course, responsible AI is having a moment. It's the yin to the yang of the excitement around Gen AI as well. How do we use it responsibly? And so I want to dig into each one of these, and I'll start by talking about tools. I mentioned it before, the magic wand, the silver bullet. We see a lot of organizations thinking about one size fits all. I'll get my data lake house, cloud lake house, data house, whatever it's called now. They've got a model development thing, and that'll be fine. That's all I need. I only need Jupyter notebooks with this very specific set of libraries that have been curated, and the IT team's going to be happy. We all know that doesn't work. We've got a multitude of languages. There's new tools every week. We want to create a future-proof agility by being able to bring different tools into the organization, but doing that in a quality way. And the way you create this, the way that you create gravity around modeling and data science is by making a big tent and bringing in those different tools and capabilities. So at Domino, we've been focused on that for a long time. From almost day one, we thought about software tools, IDEs, libraries, and bringing all the different languages and tools that people want into one place, and allowing the interns who are using Python and Jupyter to collaborate with old school SAS users and the folks who are building simulations in MATLAB to work with the folks who are maybe building something new in R. And so we've always been about bringing in a variety of different tools into the ecosystem. The second piece that we focused a lot on for the past few years, and if you've been following Domino, you've probably heard a lot about hybrid and multi-cloud. We have focused on expanding to allow people to use any cloud, any on-premise infrastructure, all from a single pane of glass, and also do that across scaled multi-node compute, which that's one of those hard mode things that is definitely at the forefront with Gen AI being here. So we've spent a lot of effort to make Domino hybrid and multi-cloud aware, because what we hear from organizations is they are not on one cloud. If they pick one cloud, they've made a catastrophic strategic mistake. And the IT, you're going to have a new CIO in 18 months because you've gotten locked in, you're on one single cloud, your rates are going to go up, and you're stuck to a tool chain for that one cloud service provider. So we see every organization being multi-cloud by default, and we've built Domino to support that. Something new I want to talk about is, we've taken the same logic of being an open ecosystem, the same philosophy, and applied that now to LLMs. So we've shipped recently some functionality we call AI Gateway, which allows folks to build a layer of indirection with LLMs. So instead of picking one particular vendor and deciding that you're going to use OpenAI for now, but wait a second, we're going to have to build some in-house models later. What are we going to do about that? Instead of coding to one particular model, we've created a layer of indirection to allow you to pick the best tool, swap them out, and do all the great things around passing through permissions and logging and auditing that Domino does so well. All right, next, let's talk about cost management. Exciting topic. So the AI dabblers, we see that they live in a world of infrastructure-centric cost consciousness. And in a second, I'll explain why cost conscious is not quite the right way to think about this. But when we talk to IT teams, this is what we see. This is CloudWatch, AWS Cost Management Center. We've got logged amount of bytes that are going out, how much storage we're using, the egress out of. This is nonsense. An IT team can think about this and do some charting and understanding of how much spend is going on, but it really doesn't give you anything. All it gives you is anxiety about how much you're spending, right? That's all it does. And so we believe in a world of being model-centric and value-conscious. So I'll start first by giving an anecdote of what I mean by value-conscious. There's a story that hit me particularly hard from one of our large pharmaceutical customers. We had a meeting with the global CIO, and he expressed to us a wisdom that I had never really thought about. He said, you know what? As much as we care about costs in the organization, if I could spend $100 million more on compute in order to bring a new cancer drug to market faster, I would absolutely do it. And in that example is the essence of what I mean by value conscious. Instead of thinking about the cost and how much you're racking up, thinking instead about what value do I get from a particular project model that I am building? And does the spend make sense relative to that? It's an ROI calculation, not just a cost calculation. And so we've built functionality into Domino to allow for that. First, we've got granular attribution of cost. So instead of allocating to a storage type or something like that, you can allocate to the project or the user or the organization. These are the ways that you can look at understanding where is cost going. And we have many customers who use this to do exactly the attribution that I was talking about. Gate a R&D project on the amount of cost to make a further determination about its likely future value. That's a powerful mindset change and a powerful tool for you to engage with leadership and IT to talk about where is value being created, not where cost is going. The second piece that we introduced recently is actually budget controls. So rather than just knowing how fast the AWS meter is going, you can actually set some controls and pause things along the way. Give yourself a moment to think about what's next. All right, I want to next talk about collaboration. So, a lot of people, I think, misunderstand when we say the term collaboration, and the dabblers often think about collaboration in the moment. So how do I, on a piece of code, get two data scientists to work together and maybe see a live view of the code that's working, that sort of thing? That's all great. We do that. That's helpful. That's important. But what we really mean by collaboration and what we really think is a differentiator for the AI drivers versus the AI dabblers is a building an organizational knowledge and an enterprise capability around the research that you've done. That's a big thing. That's a really big thing. Thinking about the library, the corpus of knowledge that you have, and institutionalizing that rather than thinking about how am I collaborating on one project. How do you build the aggregate knowledge of the organization over time and do that in a well-controlled and governed way? That is critical to being able to be an AI driver, not just a dabbler. So In Domino, some of the things that we've done around that, you all know search, discovery, and reuse. So if you want to go build a credit risk model in Domino, you can go look and find all the prior work. Of course, this has more advanced features with tagging and that sort of thing so that the people can promote and highlight specific projects. But your corpus of all the research and information is stored in Domino. We've also recently introduced project templates that allow you to build best practices in the organization into a reusable template. And that could be a piece of education about how to use a particular algorithm, or it could be something as critical as, this is the way our bank builds risk models. And so start from this template because we have the aggregated knowledge of what it really means to do a risk model well. So flexible feature that allows for a lot of that collaboration and reuse in the organization. Okay, responsible AI, a bit of a newer topic, so I'm going to linger here for a little bit longer, and we're going to have a quick demo of part of our product. Dabblers are algorithm focused. What does that mean? That means that they're coding and they've decided to go look at the relevant importance of features and do bias detections in the algorithm and that sort of thing. Again, a helpful piece, but not at the core of what it means to do responsible AI. We believe real responsible AI is process focused. So it is about getting the right people, the right oversight, the right audit and validation, and most importantly, applying the right model to the right business case. So it starts from day one, and it's a process that lasts through the lifetime of the model. It's not just deploying it once, but monitoring it, bringing it back, redeveloping it. And so that mindset shift is very different. Not just, I dabbled with this project and I checked the bias with an algorithm, but how is my organization going to identify, build, validate, deploy, and monitor responsible AI in the organization? So at our core, since day one, Domino has had reproducibility in the platform. It's one of the things we're proud to invent and have a particular take on how reproducibility happens. We did that with Docker containers way back in the day, and it's always been a core of our product. And last year, we introduced Model Sentry that added a bunch of features around seeing all your models, being able to have a model review process, transition from various different environments to other places. And so what I'm really excited to show you now is the next evolution of our Model Sentry and what we're doing around responsible AI. So I believe we have a video, and I will go over here.
Despite all the advances in state-of-the-art AI, it is still a huge pain to track, compile, and trace all the information and materials needed to comply with enterprise compliance policies. That's why I'm excited to show you a preview of Domino's new model governance capabilities. It gives companies the flexibility to implement their preferred governance policies, whether those are off-the-shelf industry frameworks like NIST or custom-tailored internal policies. Domino makes it easy to track and trace all the evidence required over the course of a modeling project to comply with your policies, and it provides a bird's-eye view of compliance across an organization. Domino Model Governance is built on Domino's powerful workbench and reproducibility engine. As you'll see, that enables Domino to automatically generate compliance evidence by assembling critical metadata and even executing code to produce computed artifacts. Let's dive in. In this new world, with global AI regulations evolving rapidly, staying up to date and properly interpreting their guidance is a daunting task for many organizations. Now, with just a few clicks, organizations can swiftly adapt to new regulations. By clicking on Create Policy, they access a pre-configured list of policies and frameworks. They can also access policies developed internally. Selecting a framework like Domino's Model Risk Management reveals a description and a visual map of stages and requirements, simplifying the decision process. The policy can be implemented or customized to meet your unique needs. It's easy to specify what evidence is required for your policy. Here, I'll specify that my policy requires a model quality evidence set, an evidence template that was previously created and shared. It's a combination of scripted checks and metric checks, which automatically capture specific metadata associated with your model. We all know compliance is critical, but it can also be onerous for data scientists, distracting them from higher impact innovation. By streamlining the evidence collection process, Domino saves data scientists time and improves the quality and consistency of the compliance work. From the very beginning of a project, we support the data scientist in staying compliant. In our example, the data scientist starts with a fraud detection project template. The policy can be selected as soon as the project is kicked off. In this case, one that was based on the MRM framework we saw earlier. Notice the call to action to start the governance checklist. By clicking on it, the data scientist can then document the evidence necessary to define her business case. Notice that the classification is automatically set based on the answers. The beauty of using Domino is that data scientists don't need to take any extra steps. Unlike other model lifecycle solutions, it's all tightly coupled with the data science environment on the same platform. Take a mental note of some of the information we are logging here: hyperparameters and performance metrics, as well as the data sets available, indicated on the left panel. The Domino model card is a fundamental aspect of the model lifecycle. The model card automatically associates relevant information that was captured during development and training. For example, the model's performance metrics and hyperparameters, and the dataset we saw earlier. We also have links to code and the environment used as part of the model development, all thanks to Domino's reproducibility engine, and now with built-in governance features included. By clicking on Business Case, the data scientist enters the evidence notebook. This is where all the evidence is collected and maintained. If we fast forward to stage 4, we can see a button allowing her to run all of the automated checks. After submission, a set of automated tasks are executed, in this case, evaluating the bias of her dataset and getting the accuracy and F1 score of her model. By investigating the job, she can fully reproduce the results and understand how they got generated. The data scientist can now request for approval to exit the validation stage. For this, she needs approval from the review group. Our reviewer received a notification in the task management panel that a deliverable is ready to be approved. From here, he can see any other items that are awaiting his approval. Our reviewer has full context when evaluating evidence before approving them. It's the same view and the same data as the data scientist, reducing the amount of back and forth between them. By looking at the evidence notebook, the reviewer can see all input required from him before giving approval, and he can also leave comments for the data scientist. The reviewer can easily drill down into each evidence set and evaluate the responses. He can see previous stages and access all relevant information from the governance notebook. He is satisfied with the thoroughness of the compliance checks and approves the deliverable for deployment. All of it would be captured in Domino's audit trail. To close, let me share Domino's governance dashboard. We understand the challenges faced by risk officers who need to monitor compliance closely and ensure the review group is not becoming a bottleneck for innovation. Our dashboard provides crucial KPIs, including overall policy compliance, policy completion trend, policy completion average time, and different additional data about risk, reviewer allocation, and geographies. Moreover, the dashboard details deliverables under each policy, highlighting their compliance risk level, stage, and status. He can access the same view as the data scientist and the reviewer, harmonizing compliance across all of them. This is all integrated directly into Domino's audit log, allowing us to explore individual events like how access was granted to this project. This concludes our demonstration of managing AI governance with Domino, where compliance meets efficiency.
Compliance. I'm kidding, but I hope you can see that going back to my analogy of dabblers and using the magic wand versus the AI drivers, Domino's in the trenches. We know that a new version of Llama is not a panacea for issues in your organization. We know that what it takes to be a real driver of AI are things like compliance. That's an important part. When you have models at the heart of your business that have risk and are impacting not only your business, but also the lives of your customers, this is critically important stuff. And what I hope you've seen is that we're trying to bring tools to you all as experts to make that journey of being in the trenches and being an AI driver quite a bit easier. So I'll just recap and say, if you take one thing away, think about how models are different than software engineering or other IT practices, and think about these categories. Think about, do you have future-proof agility built into your organization? Are you thinking about model-centric cost, not infrastructure-centric cost? Are you building a enterprise collaboration that is building the aggregate knowledge of your organization? And are you focused on a process that is going to bring quality models to your customers and to your business? Anyway, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed what you saw that's coming soon from Domino.